What is karma? When most people talk about karma, they likely are referring to the great law of cause and effect. According to this law, whatever thoughts or energy you put out, you get back, good or bad. In order to get what you want, you have to embody and be worthy of those things. In a single moment, you can shift your karmic energy. Newton's law of motion is the spiritual equivalent of, for every action, there is an equal but opposite reaction. Karma is the sum of a person's actions in this and previous state of existence, viewed as deciding their fate in future existences. Good karma brings good returns, while bad karma brings bad returns. Karma is the law of the universe. We are governed as spiritual beings with these 12 laws of karma. Now, what does all this mean? When we display negative energy, thoughts, or words, we will get negative energy back. But it doesn't work that way. Karma isn't just punishment. There are karmic laws in motion at all times, both positive and negative. Our beliefs and what we put out into the universe is cause and effect. Learning spiritual principles is the first step toward your rise in consciousness. Your thoughts, behaviors, and actions create specific effects that manifest and make your life as you know it. We are born innocent and enlightened beings, and you can always tap into that energy. There are 12 universal karmic laws. The first, the Great Law, sometimes referred to as the law of cause and effect. What you put out, you get back. The second law of creation. You are the co-creator. Take action to manifest your dreams. Don't wait for things to magically happen. The third law of humility. Be humble enough to accept that your current reality is a product of your past thoughts and actions. The fourth, the law of growth. Accept what you can't change or control and focus on what you can. This is the law of personal growth. 5, the law of personal responsibility. You are a product of choices you make and the thoughts you focus on. You become what you think about most of the time. 6, the law of connection. Everything in your life is connected. Every person, everything is connected to you in some way. 7, law of focus. It's impossible to focus on two things at once. Focus on higher values like love and peace to prevent lower thoughts like jealousy and anger. Number 8, the law of giving and hospitality. Without selfless nature, spiritual growth is impossible. Give to things you believe in. Number 9, the law of here and now. Embrace the present. Let go of the past grudges and resentments. Number 10, the law of change. Doing the same things over and over again will get you the same results. To get different results, change something. Number 11, the law of patience and reward. Be consistent with your karmic deeds. Long-term rewards come from accumulated good karma. And finally, number 12, the law of significance and inspiration. We are all born for a purpose. The gifts you share can have powerful impact on the world. Don't think for 1 minute that anything you do in life doesn't affect the world around you. Awesome. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Andromeda 7, your celestial gateway and your channel for community support, help, friendship, love, knowledge, and just plain being of value to others. And you know what tonight is? It's Friday night. It's time to feed your mind and grow your heart. And tonight's topic is, what is karma? Yeah, so it's going to be kind of a good discussion. I know for a lot of people, this might be maybe remedial in the spirit realm where people are at, but it's always a good refresher to talk about what karma is and how it affects our lives, and not only just our lives, but it also affects past lives. So it is what makes us who we are today, and some of the things that we're working on. Real quick, I would like to acknowledge chat really quickly. So let me go ahead and do that. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you coming in. Hi, Ray. Love back at you. Hi, Jeannie Griffin. Michael Musgrave. Good to have you both. Deborah Sloan. Always a pleasure. Love seeing you here. Let's see, who else do we have? Susie Q. Always a pleasure. Thank you for popping in. We appreciate you very much, always. Lucky Stone, good to have you with us. I'm sure you're going to have some very interesting comments, so I'm looking forward to seeing those. Pearl Jones, so good to have you. I hope things are leveling out a bit for you. I know it's been a bit crazy, but you're doing good, girl. You got this. Max Vision, such a pleasure to have you. Looking forward to some of your
And
content coming in. Yeah, and Max Cat too. Oh yeah, Max Cat. Let's see, who else do we have? Beloved Abstract, good to see you as well. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, it's good to see you. Queen of Courts, hi Karen, good to see you. Thanks for popping in. We appreciate that. Barry Chad, Elderberry, love seeing you. I wonder how those little chicks are doing. Hope you're making lots of eggs out there too. The community sure can use it. Well, who do we have here? We got Scotty Boy. How the heck are you, Scotty
all
Boy?
right.
It's
Hey,
so
Scotty.
good to have you with us. We know what you've been going through. That's been tough on you. Wow, way to hang in there. Good. I knew things were going to be good for you.
Awesome.
Mary Wins, good to see you. Thanks for being here. One of the best moderators out there, let me tell you. She is a miracle moderator. You betcha. And that is it. I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to you, my lovely co-host. You've got some things to say. So fantastic.
I'll try not to drop it.
You're doing good. You're always
These
doing
days,
good.
you never know.
Yeah.
Well, greetings and welcome, everyone. So glad to see you. And a special thank you and welcome to all of our new followers on Facebook and Instagram. Mm-hmm. We are now up to 782 total subscribers across both our channels. That's significant. And we just love
Congrats.
the comments, suggestions. And yes, it is difficult to understand what karma is all about when you're fairly new coming into this. We have some seasoned spiritualists, mystics in our chat room who can help field questions that you can bond with and connect with in a very special way. And speaking of which, congratulations and hats off to this entire family of friends and soul sisters and soul brothers for stepping up and reaching out to David Null and Ken Isby Starseed, and now Laird Scranton and Scotty Boy when he was going through what he was going through with his heart. So we have some folks in need that need continued prayer and intent for, mostly at this point, strength and encouragement, courage, strength, comfort, peace. Especially Ken. He's very uncomfortable right now, and our hearts go out to him. And David, he's recovering and coming off of all kinds of medications, which blew his mind. So he's been struggling. Nevertheless, folks like Wendy from All My Relations stepped up to send him some tools to help him reach things, and just everything that everybody's doing, setting up Meals on Wheels for David and constant contact with him so he knows he's not alone. The same with Ken. So that just shows you how a community can work together in unity to help bring about healing, support, and love and friendship to those who need it most. Anyway, enough of that. So keep those folks in mind, please. And Laird Scranton, he's using humor to get through his situation, and he has a wonderful sense of humor. So he's having heart surgery. So All right, let's see. I have a poem that I picked out for you guys for tonight. Alone I tread through this strange land, seeking for a helping hand, fettered by the cares I've earned from lessons I have left unlearned. I've spun my fate, but spinning still, my destiny yet to fulfill. Find through lessons I have learned that peace profound which I have earned. So there's learning and non-learning, the sifting through it all. Which brings me to this subject tonight about karma. We have both, the negative mindset and a positive mindset. And any given time, we flip between negative thought and positive thought, and they can become creative at any moment. And if your go-to is always negative and sabotaging, your actions will take on those traits, right? And it'll affect your behavior in various ways, the way you speak, the actions that you take, the language that you use. And what ultimately manifests is feeling disconnected from love, often bringing on shame and judgment. That's what that negative thoughts. Positive mind, which is more or less guided by your higher self, your oversoul. And when you're spiritually aware that exists, that there's another part of you that thinks on a different level, you can flip the script. When your mind is positive, you manifest all kinds of great moments, peace, compassion, love, and an overall sense of well-being. There is no judgment of where you are or who you are, just an elevated sense of knowing you're okay from an observer's perspective. You tap into the divine universe, whatever that looks like, and you speak your truth into existence. A powerful awakening such as this can happen at any moment. Now, there's something called a shift that we'll be talking about tonight. To learn and evolve is constant. And while there is a lot of chaos around the world right now, you have the ability at this very second to shift your thoughts and change your karmic value. We've talked about this before. There are specific laws, however, that govern those principles, and we want to share them with you right now, here tonight, or wherever you are in your thought process and on your journey. You're not wrong. You might just be a little misinformed about what karma really is. So please keep in mind, however, one thing I'd like you to keep in mind tonight. The term law, it's not referring to rules and regulations, okay? It's not referring to judgments, constraints, preventions, imprisonment, or punishment in any way. Rather, these laws are, in effect, an agreed upon, conscious, collective, spiritual, and divine, intelligent set of guidelines. You like that, Jeannie? Agreed upon, conscious, collective, spiritual, and divine, intelligent set of guidelines. More specifically, any statement of the relation of acts and conditions to their consequences. As such, these guidelines help us to define and choose karmic energy lifestyles that we wish to experience and grow from. And they can change your life. And so that's why we're reviewing them. It helps to have a little review every now and then. All right, Lori?
Yeah, sounds really good. Yep. Well, so as the video explained, I don't want to rehash the video, but I think maybe a good way to approach this is to get our panel's take on it. And I'm really curious as to Dalibor, your take on karma. How does it affect your life? Is it something that you think about on a daily basis, what your karma is?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, it's a law in the sense that gravity is a law. It's not necessarily a constraint that people think about, and it's not something you have to think about. And it's not something you have to regard as some kind of a limitation. Most people don't regard gravity as a limitation because we live in it day in and day out. If you pick up a ball and release it, it's going to drop to the ground. Common sense. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing with the law of karma. Once you accept that that's an actual function of the universe itself, then you're not. It doesn't make any sense to go up against it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why it's an important concept is because it's diametrically opposed to the concept of salvation and all those salvation religions, like notably Christianity or Judaism, which says that you can essentially do bad things, and then if you repent for them, you can annul the law of karma and get a good result for a bad action. So
So true.
that's uh, that's something I would tend to disagree with. That's why I'm not in any of these religions, and instead I follow the law of karma. And it's kind of it's not necessarily a struggle, but it's a daily activity, you could say. Just
Mm-hmm.
try to be as positive as you can, and
Mm-hmm.
not emphasize the negative. Sure, every one of us has negativity in our lives, but that doesn't mean we have to obsess over it or delve into it or you know um, analyze it to a greater extent than is necessarily healthy. It's like um, you know every single one of us eats and defecates. Like some people obsess over food, but is it healthy to obsess about defecation? Of course not.
Mm-hmm.
So and no normal person does that. So I think it's a mindset that you have to cultivate, and sometimes it's almost like an obsessive, like a song stuck in your head, kind of. And since a lot of times people do have these songs or tracks in their heads, if you could choose, why not choose a positive one? That's why,
Mm-hmm.
like Hinduism, provides you with the mantra, which is like a positive reinforcement that you repeat throughout the day over and over and over again. So if you find yourself inside like a negative thought loop, a good way to overcome that is by listening to something like Indian sitar music, because
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty intense, and it
Grounding.
um, it's grounding and it's also uplifting. And when you have that as like the soundtrack that's in the back of your mind, it does tend to improve the outcome of your life on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Without getting into specifics, because you can't really cite specifics. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you can't really prove that this actually happens, but it's also a question of mindset. Like if you have a negative mindset, you're gonna tend to seek out negative things and concentrate on negative things. If you have a
Mm-hmm.
positive mindset, you're more likely to experience positive things in your life
Mm-hmm.
because you focus on those positive things and you seek them out.
Right.
Vice
Yeah, it's
yourself.
not always about just positivity because all this love
Yeah.
and light stuff
Mhm.
and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, airy fairy, you have to be a certain way." Let me tell you something. I First of all, let me get to Ray's question here. How would you explain righteous anger? For example, being angry and acting on his anger to protect yourself and others. I absolutely embrace my anger,
Oh yeah.
my frustrations. I definitely hold those close to my heart. Um, it's what helped me be who I am. It allowed me to create, for example, um, some boundaries with people, what I will take, what I won't. Sometimes you've got to. I mean, if you're dealing with an angry dog and they nip at you, that's their boundary level. So it's the same type of thing. It's kind of a
That's
simplistic.
that's that's also action reaction when you think about it.
Exactly.
If
Yeah,
you're
it
confronted
is.
with a negative situation, you have to
Mm-hmm.
you can't react by just being Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
turn the
because
other
you'll
cheek.
just get walked all over. They'll just
Exactly.
eat you up and spit you out,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But I think once yeah, it's righteous and necessary, definitely, Ray. I do believe that. But there comes an evolution to when you grow and learn that there's more than just that out there and that there are techniques and things you can do to kind of get around that because let's understand that's going to blow your blood pressure way up and it's going to release emotions and where's the control in that. That's what I've learned over time is there's a certain degree of control and a demeanor of respect for others. Everyone's on different paths. We all know that. But yeah, that was a really good question, Ray. I really like that.
And as we get through these laws tonight, I think a lot of these types of questions will be answered.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with how you use energy in
Right.
a way to have a measured response and still be able to set those boundaries.
Yeah.
Without creating more negativity to bring on. I can go out front and cuss out my neighbor for dumping
Mm-hmm.
my trash can and kicking it down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And that will lead to a fight. And she might key my car, and she will. And so I'm building negative karma with this
Mm-hmm.
person.
Yeah.
And every time I come across her, there's going to be conflict. Or
Mm-hmm.
I could choose to go out there, pick it up, and
Mm-hmm.
just simply tell her, this is unacceptable. I really don't appreciate this. Nobody's kicking anybody else's trash cans around. There's no need to go down that road. If there's something that's upsetting you, let's talk about it. It's the way I approach someone, or the way, that's what I've learned here lately.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be the one that used to go back and kick her trash cans down the street.
Oh,
for
sure.
Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
For revenge.
Yeah.
And I used to do things to intimidate her so that she wouldn't come after me. That was a different neighbor. And I learned that I kept creating more crap. And it just never ended. And so now I know how to set it off in such a way that it doesn't go like a snowball out of control.
Mm-hmm. Queen of Court says sometimes anger is righteous and necessary. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And she
It
does
is
say controlling it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
I got this. Thank you.
Okay.
Exactly. There is something called controlled anger. Absolutely. So yeah, let's see the balance of both. You know, how do I want to react to this situation? Do I want to be angry and be like, I'm right, you're wrong, you're effed up, I don't like what you did? Or are you going to not set yourself up for maybe that situation in the future? How can you make the adjustment to where you're not exploding or being so emotional about a situation? I mean, how, just controlling it is really that's the point I'm trying to make, is being aware of it.
Putting it into perspective. That's
There you
also
go.
really important.
Yeah.
Trying to see the biggest possible picture that you can see, right down to like the global planetary level. Okay, is this interaction with this person gonna affect the course of events in this city for the next 100 years? No.
Yeah. And Ray's even made a comment here. I'm loving what you're bringing to the table, Ray. I've integrated most of this anger, but I guess it's anger towards myself for allowing it to happen, and anger towards the person for acting on their own. It's 50-50. Absolutely it is. And that integration is so important. But the thing to remember too is not to get down on yourself for feeling that way. Notice it, know that you're feeling that way. Look, I want to rip this person's head off, but really, what is that going to get me in the long run? Probably the police coming to my door and some charges being pressed on me. Let's see. What direction would I like to take this in? Just taking a moment to just check yourself and allowing yourself to feel the way you do, but holding it enough to where you're not acting on it with a emotional reaction. You're not just being set off or sparked. That's part of the spiritual part of it, and allowing yourself to feel the way you feel.
In other words, not allowing your animal mind to react, but giving your human mind time to kick in. Because the animal mind, that's the reactive mind versus the proactive mind, which you want to have that in charge of your consciousness rather than like the primitive animalistic self.
Yeah.
You do need that. You do need that animal soul that resides within you. You do need to bring that out, but it shouldn't control who you are with respect to your interaction with the world and with other human beings.
Have some control over your emotions. That's exactly right. And it takes practice. It's not easy. It is easy to fly off the handle. Max is saying here, anger is not good for your cortisol release digestion, stops overall, not good for your health, wise, but for survival. Yes, absolutely. And your blood pressure, not to mention your blood pressure. That's not a good thing to do. But there are times when you're going to need to get mad and get angry to let others know, look, I'm pissed off, and I'm not putting up with this crap, and that's the way it's going to be.
It's
Go ahead.
interesting how quickly we went from
Mm-hmm.
what is karma to the topic
Mm-hmm.
of anger and
Yep.
control of anger.
Mm-hmm.
There's other things that create certain karmic challenges in our relationships and communications.
What you put out, you get back. So it's that law of cause and effect. Do you want positive reactions, or do you want negative? What is it that you want out of each and every situation?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be something that you worry over. It could be a prejudice that you have.
It could be pride. It could
prejudice.
It could be pride.
Mm-hmm.
It could be pride.
Yeah.
If you look up the 7 deadly sins, it's pretty interesting because anger
they're
is
all
one
elements.
of them. Yeah, the anger is one of those.
Grandpa Brian, I'm wondering, and I know you have a delay, so I'll give you a few seconds for this to sink in, but what are your thoughts about karma? Do you have anything you'd like to add to this conversation?
Yeah, I really started watching how I view things, view people, how I react to people, and how I treat people. Through a past life regression, I learned that I had a karmic cycle with this person, and I am actually doing a conscious effort into breaking that karmic cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a negative karmic cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm consciously aware of it now, and that's the thing. I don't want to create something else with someone else that I possibly may be reoccurring in next lifetimes.
Yeah.
So you really got to be aware of what you do and how you treat people. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very
it's
interesting.
just not your karma that you're building up. You're building up karma with other people too.
Absolutely, and that can come over a series of lifetimes as well. If you don't get that into check in that first encounter, you're definitely going to repeat those lessons until you get them right. And karma can be about breaking those cycles with people that you've had in the past. And we're talking anywhere from, knowing someone from a few weeks to many, many years. That can affect so much of your karma, and allowing to let, and you say, oh, let's just let it go. And people go, isn't that easy? I get all that. Trust me, I've been through that. But there's some power in letting things go, and making changes, positive changes in your life. They're not always easy, and they can be extremely difficult, but you will come out on the other side, and you will be better for it. That is for sure.
Has to do with attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Attitude has a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not just your interaction with other humans, but also all beings, pretty much. All beings, because how you treat all beings is how they treat you. That's why, like, maybe 2 lifetimes from now, you'll get stung to death by a jellyfish because you killed a jellyfish in this life, or you killed a dog for no reason, and next lifetime you're gonna get bitten by a rabid dog and die a horrible death or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Kind of simplistic, but yes, that's kind of what we're going for here, because there's really no other way to make that point.
Yeah.
I guess there is, but that's the one we're finding. Deborah
like
Sloan
this one.
says, yeah, let me get this one. Each of my times of anger have been moments of learning experiences that I needed. I have to agree with that. It is a learning experience.
Yeah.
It's the swing of the pendulum. It's that opposite end of, being kind and loving and all of that. It just swings the other way. So yeah, there's a balance to it, and I agree with that. I'm sorry, Teresa, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
perfectly
Go
all
ahead,
right.
sweetie.
We hit it at the same time. That's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
We often do that. Let's see. I like this one. To find a true friend, one must be a true friend.
Mm-hmm.
So to have an interpersonal friendship and trusting relationship, you both have to be that to one another for that to work. Otherwise, you create a situation of frustration, mistrust, and it's not a balanced relationship. So karma is sometimes, I think, about balance, right?
Yeah. Scotty boy, that's funny. Maybe said jellyfish should grow a backbone.
For some reason, that just cracked me up.
It
Yeah,
did. Oh, it's
yeah,
good to have you here,
Good to have you
Scotty.
yeah,
back,
because
Scotty.
Goodness, you're here.
yeah,
Good to have
because
you
he
back.
brought up the
Comic
fact that
relief.
it's an invertebrate.
That's pretty good, Scotty.
Yes, very
Mhm.
good. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, but I thought that was interesting, Grandpa Brian, how you brought up the karmic in past lives, because I don't think people really think about the past life aspect of things. They're more focused on the here and now, and that's a good thing. But there's so much about your past life that affects the life you're living now. Because think about it, you who you are today have become everything you've been in the past, and that's kind of fascinating to me. Uh,
And see, that's the thing where you get to relive. You're basically reliving a past life every time you incarnate. Now, the question is, a lot of people have asked me this: if you could go back in time and redo it again, would you do something different? Well,
mhm.
my answer to that is always no. You wouldn't.
Mm-mm.
Even if you knew the outcome,
Mm-mm.
you would still make those same choices
I
and get to
agree.
the same place and have those same
Hmm.
experiences.
Well, we do have eternity to figure this out, don't we? And
Yeah.
this,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we'll always be expanding, always growing.
Yeah.
That's why I really don't have a fear of death in any way, because I know that I'm an infinite being, and I'm just going to keep coming back and doing it over and over and over. So many different
Hmm.
ways to do it. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was how you affect others, and thinking about maybe one person in your life that has really made a huge impact on who you are and how you react. Like for me, it's my sister. I can't imagine my life without my sister. A father, a mother. Think about how different your life would be without those people's impacts on you. And what I'm trying to say is, if you turn that around to yourself, think about the impact that you yourself make on others, and the little things that you do that change people's lives. And for unfortunately, you don't get to see that until you do your life review. So
Yeah, but
I'm
sometimes people tell you. Sometimes people tell you, and in my case, a lot of people have thanked me for like getting them into like self-employment or getting them to go to college. Well, this one of my students, I motivated him to go to college because I saw that he was a smart kid. And he's like,
mm-hmm,
"Thank you, because of you, I made that decision."
mm-hmm,
So I have had a notable effect on other people in the past, and I know this because they thanked me for it.
yeah. And that's really important to remember. So when
Yeah.
you're getting down on yourself and you're thinking that you don't have a lot to offer others, or you're having a bad day, or you're mad at yourself, or whatever it is, just remember how important you are. And those are fleeting moments that come and go, and they're going to dissipate, and then you're going to move on to other things. Yeah.
Mhm.
um
I guess the people who have had the most effect on my life would be my ancestors, specifically my parents, because when you look at all these dysfunctional marriages that other people's parents have had, and you look at
mhm,
my own parents who have had like the perfect relationship,
mhm.
who've
Mine
always
too.
been, you know,
I wouldn't say that it was
perfect.
perfect, but they were
Yeah,
perfect to me because they
yes,
stayed together and they kept the
exactly.
unit together. Yeah.
Same here, same
Yeah.
here.
I can
So.
totally relate to that.
So for that, I'm immensely grateful, and
Hmm.
I see them as role models in that respect. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Wow. Um, let's see, Dolly Belfort. I too often have the thought they'll get theirs. I find it hard to adjust that response. Well, a good way, Dolly, to make the adjustment is to think to yourself, they're on their path. You are on your path. They're not the same path. We're not all in the same place all the time. At any point in time, you're doing your path, I'm doing mine, Delabor's doing his, Grandpa Byron's doing, we're all on our own paths. So I think the one thing that you could do is, instead of saying they'll get theirs, wish them luck. Good luck on your journey, because you're not quite there yet. And that's okay.
Well, at the same time, I would say that yes, they will get theirs.
Mm-hmm. You can. That's
They
interesting
will.
that you're sticking to that.
Yeah.
But I don't
Hmm.
personally. I don't see it that way.
Hmm.
I see it as you're on a different path, and
But
it's not up to me to say you're going to get yours. That's just
well,
my
it's
personal belief.
yeah, it's not up
Okay.
to
Yeah.
me to judge somebody.
Yeah. I'm not judging.
That's up to the universe to judge them.
Exactly. Well, and you judge yourself in the end, really, and
Yeah.
that's the biggest judgment you could get. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
that to me would be wow. And think about that too when you're done with this life and how quickly it goes. How are you going to look back on your life and say, "Wow, I got mad at that guy and I threw something at him and I got pissed off." Or I was able to switch that energy and I felt better about it and I didn't put that in the world.
Hmm.
Even though they did, that's the thing that's there's a fine line to is just allowing others to be who they are and then you be authentic and true to yourself. Really, it's the
Hmm.
relationship that you have with yourself first and foremost,
Yeah, I
in
totally
my
agree.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that precludes like being 100% authentic. Authentic and 100% honest about who you are with yourself and
Mm,
with other people around you.
mm-hmm. Absolutely,
Yeah,
no
not
doubt
putting up
about
a
it.
front, not putting up a facade, none of that
Mm-mm,
shit. No.
mm-mm, no.
Hmm.
I gotta go. Something came up. I gotta go do this. But thanks. I appreciate it. Whatever you need to shift that energy. Would you
Hmm.
agree, Grandpa Brian? How do you feel about that?
Uh, yeah, it's just going back to treat others how you want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Would you want someone saying, all right, I wish that upon you, or that's going to come back on you? I don't ever, if someone does something to me,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's their path, their journey. It doesn't affect me. I don't judge. I know they're on a different path than me, and I just let
Mm-hmm.
them do their path. And that's all you can
Yeah.
do. Do
Mm-hmm.
you and let other people do themselves.
Mm-hmm. I was noticing I was around someone who was really trying to make their point and being right. They were so into being right about the whole situation that it kind of blew up and got away from them. And I thought to myself, all you had to do was just close your mouth, don't say anything, and let the silence speak for you. Because a lot of times there's so much power in just being silent and not, yeah. Go ahead, Grandpa Brian.
Yeah, that was my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'd get in an argument, and the argument would be over. I would go out to the garage. She would follow me out there to get her point across. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, I said, Why do you do this to people? You do it to everybody. You
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you get your point across no matter what it is." And she has finally come to the realization that she does do that, that she
Mm-hmm.
will just keep going at somebody until she gets her point across or tries to get them to see her side. And she's making a constant effort not to do that now.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting that you kind of brought that out. It gave her something to think about. But I remember being in that space where I'm right, gosh darn it, you all know it. And I'm trying to prove my point. And it creates some really negative karma. It creates a lot of resentment. It creates anger. It creates wanting to get back at you. But I think one of the important things is seeing the truth about the situation. See the truth. Everybody knows truth. You can feel it in your body when you're truthful with people. Well, you know, maybe you reacted this way because of that, and I can understand that reasoning that you have and why you reacted that way. And just kind of, instead of facing each other and going at it this way, maybe bring yourself next to them and try to speak to them as you are alongside of them and not so confrontational, which I think you did. made that example, GB. That was really, really good. But not everybody's going to react that way, are they? That some people are going to get pissed off by that because when they hear the truth, they don't like it. But that's within themselves because the truth stands on its own, and there's nothing you can do to change truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Teresa's having some issues here, but looks like she made
almost,
it back.
that almost sounds like what my evil Uncle Otto used to always say.
Yeah.
I'm right. These are my reasons, so go to hell.
And that's that, and get over it.
Yeah.
And
I'll
you just
that.
Shake your head like okie dokie.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Uncle.
See, this was a guy who had everything going for him, but screwed everything up and had like the worst luck, the worst outcomes, despite the fact that he was actually a very smart guy.
Yeah, this is interesting, Ray. The way I see it, that I probably had life as them. Who am I to judge or assume anything as me now? Absolutely, because we've all been in that space. We've all done that. We all come from that. That's what we are as a conscious being, is we're learning how to do all this stuff. And this is the hardest school in the universe. Hardest school to come to, the most densest, heavy. And sometimes my mom would say, and I love this about my mom, she goes, "This is hell."
It is.
And I'm like, yeah, it is. It really is. Sometimes it feels that way. Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Let's see. We had a few people join. Robert V. Oh, good to see you, Robert V. Thanks for coming on in. Yeah. Hello. Welcome. Yeah, Teresa, you missed some good dialogue there.
I was listening.
Yeah, oh, you were? Good. Okay, great. How do you feel about all that? Anything you want to interject?
I think Brian said it all.
Yeah. I mean, you've had issues and discussions with your brother at times, and you've overcome a lot of karmic energy with him and cycles and programs.
It comes. It stems from childhood and even a past life. So I recognize my own brother from a character that I dealt with also as a brother in a previous life. And it was a time in that reality where women were bartered and traded with. They were used as commodities to set up deals between families and kingdoms and so forth. And there was a lot of negativity between myself in that emanation with my brothers, and in particular this one. And so we built up a lot of anger and resentment, and I actually kicked him off a cliff in self-defense, but also out of anger. Because he was attacking my husband and what we were trying to accomplish. And so I brought that into this lifetime, I think, as an opportunity to do things differently so that I wouldn't react and respond in anger. And I also came into this lifetime with some traumatic experiences that some people know about, but most don't. And so that built up resentment as well in the relationship. And so it was a very similar relationship in this reality with my brother. More loving, more brother sisterly, less antagonistic, but nevertheless that energy was brought into this existence, and it's taken me years since at least 2014 to clearly understand what the dynamics are between the two of us from our family traumas. And so I have learned how to think differently and see things as an observer through my higher self, to not put as much emotion into it. Being a Cancerian, I'm highly emotional, and I am very empathic, and I tend to let things affect me in such a way that I turn on a cruel switch as a defense mechanism. And that's with other people too, not just my own brother. So I get really dogmatic. I get very cursed, very And so it's taken me, I guess, this past year to let go of all of that, to transform into a more loving, acceptable person. And when I did that, my responses were controlled anger, setting boundaries, respecting distances, and also understanding with compassion and love what's affecting him that would set me off and then trigger reaction in me, that then it was just a vicious cycle that never ended. And it became violent at times.
Yeah.
And so to protect us, myself and him, it was necessary to face that head on, but using language and thoughts that are more loving, softer, more compassionate. And through my actions, he has changed as well. So
I was just going to ask you, how has he
Yeah.
changed by the way that you've changed? How is that? How does he react to you now?
Not as much hostility, not as much anger, physically or verbally. He still can be very insulting, which are triggers for me. He could still be gaslighting. He could still be antagonistic when he wants to be, but I've come to recognize that energy is a transitory state. It's not permanent.
Right.
So it means that I don't have to accept it as a facto standard, that it's just a time, it's just that moment. And so I take that snapshot of that moment and I walk away from it. I don't confront it. I don't try to manipulate it, control it. I can control my response to it.
And that comes from strength within yourself.
I go do something else now. I'll take a drive, or I'll take Ruby for a walk, or I'll come up to my room and focus on my studies. I'll and then later he's fine. But it's changed him in that he's more considerate about things. He's more patient. He holds his breath. I could see him doing breath work when he's talking to me because he wants to wring my neck. And so he's also becoming, so in other words, it's almost like a reflection of me. It's whatever I'm doing, he reflects back now in his behavior. And I don't think he's even aware that he's doing it, but I've noticed it, and I'm like, ha ha, ha 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 ha. So the more I do things in a certain way, he responds likewise. So there isn't any more need for me to be worried. I have protection out the yin yang all the way around, and also with my guides and the rest.
And that's your superpower. That's your superpower. I love that.
Well, the superpower is recognizing I'm not going to create more. I'm going to break this cycle that wasn't that occurred in a previous lifetime and this lifetime. It needed to stop. I needed to break the cycle.
See, what you're talking about, that's like ego versus ego, you know? The minute you let your ego, take over, or I don't know what's
let go my ego.
Better synonym for that. Yeah, let go my ego. I don't know what a better synonym for ego would be. I think it would be something
Eget.
Get.
Well, what's that saying? You never know until you walk in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
I put his shoes on. What I did is I said, I put his shoes on, and I'm like, how would I feel if I had these I don't want to go into my brother's personal business. It's not appropriate.
Yes.
But there were a lot of things in his life that led up to the now. And once I walked in his shoes and I let myself feel what he must have felt, I came to realize that things are the way they are because of those things. And if I can relate to him by letting go of those things, but he'll be the first one to bring those things up in an argument. You know how sometimes you meet people who just want to bring up old memories to trigger your butt?
Sure.
And it's like, I don't let him do that anymore. I put a stop to it right away. That's not now. I'm talking about now. So I'm constantly bringing his focus back to the now. What we need to work together on to run the business now. And get out of this situation now. So it's actually, we get along a lot better. And we're still different as day and night. We
Yeah.
still have different belief systems and
Mhm.
values.
Mhm.
We share some things. And then I used an old technique out of the rule book with Dale Carnegie, find those things that you have in common, because you'll find out that even your worst enemy has some things in common with you that you can start negotiating on a common ground.
Mhm.
Find those things so that you can connect, and then the rest will flow more
Mhm.
smoothly. So that's what I've done.
Are you
Yeah.
finding that too, Grandpa Brian? Like with your relationship with your mom, do you find that as well with her? Or because of the way you've changed, are you noticing a
Yes.
change in her?
Yeah. Once I became aware of that cycle of me and her constantly butting heads, which it's happened in past 3 lives. This is our 4th life together. When I became aware of it, I stopped letting her trigger me, because
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing she knows how to do is push my buttons. And
Oh yeah,
I just
the
learned to
people
let it
closest to
go.
you.
And right. And just like Teresa, I realized this is a cycle. Let's break this cycle, so when we have that next life together, we're not going to have to repeat this arguing and butting of heads. And I mean, don't get me wrong, me, my mommy, I love my mom to death, and she loves me
Mm-hmm.
to death. I mean, we do
Mm-hmm.
anything for each other, but it's just that the different
Yep.
thought process where we have butted heads in previous
Mm-hmm.
lives, and it
Yep.
came back in this lifetime. And now that I realize that, I don't let her trigger me like she used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
that's when it went to her about that, about badgering someone until they see your point, and she realized that. And now, I mean, it's so much better, and we get along. I mean,
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
better than we
That's
ever had in my
that's
56 years.
right on.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Scotty Boy made a comment. So ego is thought.
I should
Here's the
point out
int. Oh, go ahead.
that ego is the
Mm-hmm.
Latin word for I.
Yes, I.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. And what I wanted to say, and Scotty Boy, his comment just triggered me to remember when I was doing a session with my guide. Uh, I asked about the ego, and you do take your ego with you. You do take it in the etheric realms when you're no longer with the body. You take that ego with you. So the work that you do now is going to prepare you for the next life, and getting control over that is going to help you in the future. So I thought
Yeah.
that was interesting to learn that through my guide. Because I just automatically thought, oh well, once you're up there, it's all bliss, yada yada. What do you need an ego for? But you absolutely keep the ego.
Oh,
So
yeah,
Yeah.
you
how
do.
does that change your
It's
opinion?
just that yes, you do keep it, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be as oversensitive as a lot of
Exactly.
people keep it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like a raw wound that you
Yep.
have or
Mm-hmm.
something
Yeah.
constantly.
Mm-hmm.
No, you could just like chill out. You could just
Mm. Yeah.
it
And
doesn't affect me as
communication's a
much.
big factor. Yeah, communicating with other people is a huge factor. Trying to express where you're coming from in a calm manner and without the emotion, that's where the real work is involved. Go ahead, Teresa.
I'm with Scotty Boy. I would not
Uh-huh.
want to abandon my ego either.
Me
Um,
either. I've
Ego
worked
has an
hard for
important,
this ego.
yeah, it has a very important role.
Hmm.
And without ego, it would be difficult for some people to stand up in front of an audience and give a speech or give a lecture.
Mhm.
There's certain types of purposes that other humans have in life to be teachers and performers and great leaders, and they need a little bit of that ego um, to balance out the rest of their character to perform the tasks that they perform. So I think ego plays an important role in that. But I think being aware and spiritually aware of the fact that you have an ego and that
Hmm.
you have the human mind versus
Hmm.
your ethereal, higher conscious soul allows you to balance that out and use ego as a tool as opposed to allowing ego to control your reaction and
Hmm.
response to things.
Yeah. Scotty Boy says lack of thought triggers ego. Wait, what's awareness? Awareness is consciousness. first and
Sure.
foremost. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Ray says, what has helped me is that everything I see is a part of myself, negative and positive thoughts outside of me. It's just my ego projecting itself because it is me. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I like that a lot. I like that. That's a great comment.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I agree with you, Scotty. I would not want to abandon my ego either. Nope. Yeah, the poor guy's already confused. Good one. It's good to have you back, Scotty boy. Good to have you back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we missed you.
Yep. Yeah. Who is this I that wouldn't want to abandon its ego? If not ego itself. I don't want to abandon it. I need my ego. That's my strength. That's my
Well,
superpower.
the ego is either your spirit or your soul. That's the
Mm-hmm.
synonym I was actually looking for.
I
It's
see.
either because you have the super ego as well,
Mm-hmm.
which would be like the oversoul.
Sure.
So
And there's 30% of you is here. The other 70% is not is helping you, but not. And you're connected, but you don't have that full 100% capacity when you're in
yeah.
the body. You only have that
Mhm.
30%. So it's like, oh, you're on your own
Mhm.
in a sense, but yet you're not, because you have to be open to accepting the help and understanding that you've got one foot in here and you've got one foot in reality. It's really two worlds. But to
Yeah, I would
have
agree with
one foot
that.
in
Yeah,
and one foot
definitely.
out, it really makes a huge difference in your life. And people will notice that with you. They'll see that in you. Yeah, it's incredible.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of work, a lot of self healing, a lot of focusing on you. Yeah, that's where the work
Sure.
comes in, that shadow work. I'm not a light worker, I'm a shadow worker. I'm always working on that shadow aspect of myself.
And
That's
what
part
we're
of the
talking about with karma, it applies not just to the ego, but also to the super ego and the body.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert V says, yes, ego is like a hidden superpower under your control. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying with
Yeah.
once you learn how to control the ego and your response to certain situations and activities, it improves your connection that you
Yeah.
can make with others on a level that you couldn't have understood before.
Mm-hmm.
It's the sixth law of karmic connection,
Right.
realizing that everything in the world is connected, and that inner work that Lori just mentioned. It took me a lot of processing and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of self-reflection and inner work to be able to get to that point. And I had to tell the ego, stop getting in the way.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to control my thoughts, and I'm trying to reach it from a observation view.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard to do. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. So this process takes time.
And I think
Yep.
the biggest way to get there and the best, quickest way, in my opinion, is gratitude. Literally having gratitude for absolutely everything in your life, good or bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Having a sense of gratitude will get you there quicker than anything.
I
I'm
agree.
thankful
know-
for the guy next door that runs his skill saw, and I can't do my videos
Yeah.
because he's
Yeah.
super loud. So I'll find something else to do till I feel like I got a quiet moment.
You
But
know
to
what I
sit
like
here- Go ahead.
about Grandpa Brian?
Mm-hmm.
His approach. There's which one is it, Lori, that talks about focus? Brian is always doing something. If he's not at work, he's with Luna at the dog park. And when he's not at the dog park with Luna, he's at a class to enhance his own growth and development at All My Relations. And when he's not there, he's out in the garden, planting his garden, taking care of his crops and his land. He's always going from one activity to the other, and he's very focused on each and every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would venture to say he doesn't get that angry, probably. He doesn't have an explosive...
Not that he can't get angry or have an anger, because I'm sure people like him can snap like that, and to keep control. That's where the work is. Yeah.
But it's something to do with focus. It's he keeps his values focused on the task at hand,
Yep.
And then everything is connected. So he has the all day long. He keeps those values. I'm speaking for you, Brian, but am I reading that right? That's how you maintain your balance?
That is totally correct. Yes. And that's how I maintain my groundness too.
Yeah.
Just,
and Queen of Quartz, Karen says
Yeah,
it is called
a lot of
manifesting your reality by doing. Yes. So
yeah.
that's a
But
perfect
that's
example.
movement.
Yep.
Movement.
Yep.
Movement.
Yeah. So do you ever get bored,
I'm always doing
Brian?
something that brings me joy.
Okay.
No,
Do you
never.
get bored?
Never.
That's interesting.
Nope.
So what do you do when things are going on around you, like people are fighting on the job, or customers are throwing things, or things are breaking down, or you're getting bad information about the weather, when negative things happen to you on an external basis? Do you then go inside with all that and just keep the focus on yourself and your tasks? How do you manage that?
Uh, I absorb it in. If it's something that don't directly affect me, I let it go. And then if it does affect me, there's that 60-second rule. Is it really something that I need to concern myself with? Like I've had homeowner come up to me and be really shitty with me. And like, the salesman said you were going to be here 2 days ago and you're just now showing up. And I said, well, sir, I tell you what I can do. I can leave and go to my next job and have someone else come here and do this, or I can do the work. And by the time I'm done, they're my best friend and they love the work that I do.
Shifting
as
the
far as
energy.
employees arguing with each other, it rarely happens. About 7 years ago, I actually blew up at a salesman on a customer's roof because he actually called me up, cussing me out on something that was actually his fault. And then when he came up to confront me on the roof, I basically let him know that it was his fault. And then after that, we were good.
So really, it's just shifting the energy. It's seeing it for what it is, not allowing it to get to you, and just moving away from it, and then turning a negative into a positive. That's exactly what I used to do a lot of with my customers. Somebody was upset with something. Hey, look, I'm upset too. I don't like this. This isn't the way we do business. Let me make it right for you, and I'll do everything I can. Yeah. That's a good point.
It's always good to give the customer the benefit of the doubt because they're your real bosses. So, when in doubt, just issue a refund and don't think twice about it.
Right. Yeah, I've done that before. Absolutely. Yeah. And they always come back.
I tell you what, a thing that worked for me that helped change also is I had an addiction. Being an executive, an account executive, traveling all the time, not having time for interpersonal relationships. I just put all my time into my job, and I was afraid of flying, but had to fly anyway. I was living out of a suitcase, hotel to hotel, all over the country. I was drinking like a fish because everybody, that's the first thing they wanted to do, is go out and have a drink. And then I drank to get on the plane, and then I drank to go to bed, and then I drank to wake up. And before you know it, I just drank.
Yeah.
And I think that from my experience, even if it were to have been other things besides alcohol, it would have impaired, and it did for a while. It's impaired my ability.
How you coped. It was your
it's how
coping
I coped,
mechanism.
But I created not so great karma with other people because of it. And then I got away from all that and was able to flip that around. But then I had this terrible accident years later, this horrible accident. And, medication does strange things to you. And if you're already having internal issues and you're already not trusting of constant institutions, I was not. And if your own employers are giving you a hard time Whose fault was the accident? How did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what your future is, and you're sitting there partially disabled, unable to move. You're in a great deal of pain, and you're taking all these medications. What comes out of your mouth is a kitchen sink. It's a
Mm-hmm.
soup. It's a soup of your soul. But it's also good to reflect back on, which is what I did because I could identify the things that were coming out were
Mm-hmm.
deeply rooted issues that I had, Lori,
Yeah.
down deep inside, and I needed
Oh, yeah.
shadow freaking work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of grateful for the experience, even though it was the worst side of me or the worst part of me I'd ever encountered, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure anybody else had ever encountered,
Sure.
including my family.
Mm-hmm.
But once you go through those things, and it's natural to vent your anger and your frustration while you're working through all that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see someone doing that, and you're working through with somebody who's going through that, oh, if I had had the more compassionate people to just
Mm-hmm.
not come in my face and make it worse, but help me to work it through,
Mm-hmm.
I think I probably would have come out of it faster. But now that I've gone through it, I can recognize it in other people, help them,
Yeah.
be more hospitable, more giving.
Didn't you have a situation with a gal you had gone into a convenience store? I thought that was really amazing. She was had
Oh,
some real drama going on, and it was heavy energy, and
yeah,
you just walked in at a time. I
yeah,
think that's a good one to talk about because it does
she,
it shows you the power of compassion.
yeah. It was during the I, talk about being in the right place at the right time or not, depending on your perspective on things. But it was a convenience store, 7-Eleven, and she works the register on the night shift. Lovely lady, Latino, very beautiful, very lovely, has 3 or 4 children,
Mm-hmm.
and it was at Christmas during the holidays,
Oh,
and it was actually the night before Christmas Eve, and she and her husband struggled financially, I guess, and things weren't well between them. He met somebody else, and he announced to her that night that he was leaving her and the kids and going off with this younger woman to back to his country and leaving her here in the United States to fend for herself. They'd been married for, I don't know, 15, 18 years,
mm-hmm.
and she had 3 little ones.
Oh gosh.
And the only income she had was 7-Eleven and no higher education. So I found out all this because I started talking to her because she was falling apart behind the counter. She couldn't lift up the items to run them through the register. She was shaking, and I could see the shaking and I could see the tears. And she looked like she was in a great deal of pain. And I looked around, I didn't see any other employees. And I said, "Are you okay?" I thought, what's going on with this woman? Is she being held up, robbed? Is somebody behind the counter? I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
So I just put my keys down and I was like, "Are you okay? Are you ill? Can I get you some help?" And no. She was like, started crying. And I was like, is your manager here? Is there a supervisor here? No. And I'm like, you need to call in backup, who's my neighbor, works there next door, and get somebody else in here to help you, whatever it is you're going through. Are you sure there isn't anything I could do for you? And she just like let it all out, her story. She just let her story out. And I just listened. You can't give anybody advice in a situation like that, and you can't take away their pain. And she was fearful. What am I going to do? How am I going to feed the kids? It's Christmas. We have nothing to give them anyway. He was supposed to bring some things home for them. I said, look, none of that matters. What matters is that you're there for them. And what matters is that you somehow pull it together so you can get through this with them, because they're going to need you. Because they don't have a daddy now. They have mommy. You're it. Tag, you're it. But there are a lot of places that we can hook you up with to get you the help you need. The county has services and programs for women in your position, and we will do that for you. I'll get together with my neighbor who's your coworker, and we will do that for you because I know him. He's not going to like this any more than I do right now. And she just looked at me, and it was like the whole world of reassurance. The fact that you're not alone, you don't have to be afraid. somebody actually took the time to listen to her.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't, and she said, "I'm so ashamed." I said, "Ashamed? You have nothing to be ashamed of. Crap happens to people, and this was really crappy what happened to you. And you don't have to feel ashamed. You're human. You're letting your emotions out. It's okay. It doesn't matter. There's hardly anybody here but me anyway. And I can guarantee you, most human beings, if they're human, are if they care, they're going to stand here and feel just as bad for you as I do right now. But what you need to know is that you're not alone. You've got support. You can get the help you need. And there are, I said, "Do you have any beliefs?" And she says, "Yes, I believe in Jesus. I believe in Jesus." I said, "Then you're not alone, because you have a connection with a power that you can tap into that can help guide you through this." She just practically jumped over the counter, put her arms around me, and held on to me for 10 minutes, sobbing and crying and sobbing.
Yeah.
And she was smiling when I left. She was so much more. I came home right away and I told my neighbor, and they got the manager involved. They got her help, and she's still working there. She's happier, and she's raising the kids with some assistance, and I think they're going to send her to some classes too. It's just that you take the time just to build that good kind of karma with people. And all of a sudden things started. I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't even thinking about it. And some of my troubles went away over the next 2 weeks. So I think that was all part of it. Things just started falling into place for me, and I didn't recognize it for what it was at the time. Now I know how the universe operates.
See, yeah, that's appreciation. You're taking the time out to appreciate another human being's situation and story, and helping her out of a bad situation.
But she wasn't it wasn't like she was part of this group. She wasn't a close friend. She wasn't a relative. She was just a human being having trouble, and she was afraid, and she was lonely, and being the empath, of course, I was right there, but I think I didn't handle it from an emotional perspective. I just stayed strong for her, and I let her do all the talking. And I just dropped a few things in there to give her a few seeds that changed her way she was thinking about that at the moment. That's all you have to do sometimes.
Yeah, reframing.
Reframing,
yeah. Well, see, one thing I wanted to say about the alcoholism and stuff, a lot of people would tend to look down on people who are addicted to substances and stuff like that. I myself went through a period where for about 40 years I was addicted to alcohol, and I can tell you one thing, that it has less effect on your karma than you might think, because when I gave it up, I was expecting all these wonderful things to start happening, and for me to become massively successful and everything. And none of that happened. And because I figured, okay, I've had successes in the past when I was an alcoholic. So I was thinking I'm going to have even more. But no, that's not the case. So maybe part of the reason why I was so successful is that in the past I was able to actually engage in that, where now I can't even go back.
I can have an occasional like a drink, like a margarita, or I can have a glass of wine with dinner or two. I can't get past 2 or 3 drinks without getting silly anyway. and then it doesn't do me any good, because then I don't feel I'm in control. So I don't like that out of control feeling. I do like relaxing and kicking back and getting in the mood and having a groove, getting my groove on. But I'll
responsible drinking.
Yeah, I'll chew a gummy, a CBD gummy. There's nothing wrong with that. Things become problematic when they become addictive to the point where you obsess over them, and then that's all, and you substitute everything else in life for that substance. And then that affects the way you think and act, and that creates the not so good kind of karma in relationships with people. And it took me a long time to realize that. I wish my sister had of. I wish my niece had of. They wouldn't have maybe taken themselves out with that, but that's how they chose to end their agreement. So that was hard for me too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Nobody wins on that.
But I tell you, going through that with her, with that lady at the store, has made me even more aware of other people. I mean, I've always been kind of that kind of person. I help people. I volunteer at the senior. It's just part of who I am. People. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I work
It's
with
your superpower.
disabled children. I work with
Mm-hmm.
special
You
needs
have a lot of
kids. I work with
compassion.
senior citizens.
Yep.
It's just part of who I am.
Yep.
But even in previous lives, but strangers off the street, it's made me more in attuned to when people are going through bad things, and I used to react like that person just rammed my shopping cart. I'm going to ram her back. Not now. That person just
Mhm.
rammed my shopping cart. There's something she's working on. There's something going on in her.
Mhm.
And I don't like that she did it, but I'll just avoid her and I'll keep going on. And I wish her the best.
Yeah.
I'm not going to create
Yeah.
Mhm.
bad juju with someone just because they did something I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I need to fight them back. I don't have that fight back
Did-
attitude anymore.
Did you ever go back into the store and see her after she was calmed down? And
I see her at least once a week.
What was her reaction to seeing you after all that was said and done that day?
The first time I went in, she dropped everything behind the register, grabbed the manager, patted him on the shoulders, and went, "Her." And he knows me. He knows me. So he was like laughing.
Yeah,
and she
I
comes
love
running
that.
around the counter and came down the line of people standing there and threw her arms around me and hugged me. And she says, "You were right. You were right. You were right. You were right. You were right." I'm like, "What about? What about?" Just they helped me. They helped me. I was scared for no reason. I can do this. I can do this. I'm capable. I can do this. The kids, they don't even know he's gone. So yeah. So she was real happy to see me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think she was more happy to just let people know that she is strong enough to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
She just needed somebody to help flip that switch on. That's all.
That's it.
So I think folks in this community, that's what we do for people. We help flip switches off and on, usually on.
And it's really simple, but so necessary and needed. And that reminder is, and that's why we do the types of shows that we do, is to, bring that awareness to people that there are alternate ways to do all this stuff. I know we're coming to the end of our hour and a half. And did you have something you wanted to talk about here at the end? You had something?
Oh, I have a little poem. But
I want the poem.
A little poem.
Yeah, it was a good poem.
It's a funny poem. I thought it was funny.
Share, please.
Let's see. Okay, so bring it up here. I thought I did. Oh, there we are. End this on an upbeat note, folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. Thank you, everyone, for listening tonight and helping one another understand things, and just it all depends on how you want to handle people. And would I change things if I could with some? Yes, and then again, no, because then I wouldn't have learned the lessons that I needed to get to where I am now.
That's it.
So I got to start judging myself. I've already forgiven myself for some of the stupid things.
You are doing a fantastic
job. Got
to
forgive yourself for doing some of the stupid things, but they're not stupid. That's negative self-talk. They're just an experience. It's an experience, and I put the intent out that I love those folks. So here we go. This is fun. This will give you a laugh, take you home on a good note. Oh, karma, dharma, pudding and pie, give me a break before I die. Grant me wisdom, will and wit, purity, probity, pluck and grit. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, kind. Give me great abs, a firm behind, and a steel trap mind. And forgive ye gods, some humble advice, okay? These little blessings would suffice to beget an earthly paradise. Make the bad people good and the good people nice. And before our world goes over the brink, teach the believers how to think.
I loved it.
Just a little fun tidbit.
Yeah,
of course, we know there's no bad, there's no good.
Yeah, right.
Good.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, I hope everybody enjoys their weekends. And,
yeah.
Keep these brothers and sisters in mind, and so many we don't know about that are masking things because they don't feel comfortable. They don't know who to trust. They don't know who to talk to, and let them know that we are a safe space and a safe haven for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much good we can do, and we do. And this, Wayne has said it, Robert has said it.
Mm-hmm.
There are some beautiful, beautiful people that we know that are connected to all these different channels, and we're all doing our own thing, and we're all on our different pathways to a journey that we're taking together,
Mm-hmm.
because we're all part of one another. And that's what I've learned from all of you, and I am grateful for everything you've ever done for me, each and every one of you. So,
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Mary Wynn said, "Love wins." Absolutely,
yeah, it does.
love wins. Yes, it does. Thank you, Mary.
Virtual hugs, cosmic
Yeah.
hugs,
Uh-huh.
and
Big
much love
hugs
to
and
all.
squeezes. Yep,
Yeah.
you bet.
I would
Awesome.
say, I would end it on, let the ego soar.
There you go. I like it. Let it soar. Love that. Well,
Right.
thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We really greatly appreciate it. Thanks for listening to us speak our truth and for allowing us to share it with others. Thank you, Dalibor Suki. Love you, brother. Grandpa Brian,
Been a
thank you
pleasure.
so much. Love having you on. And of course, my special friend and bestie, Teresa, love you. Thank you for all you do and what you do for others. So much gratitude and appreciation for all.
Yep.
Have a great weekend and peace
Good night,
and love,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye-bye.